Hi everybody, this is Algebra 1, Lesson 28, and this lesson covers fractional parts of a number and functional notation. Alright, so fractional parts of a number. This first one asks us 3/4 of 69. What number? 3/4 of what number is 69? So to write this, we're going to remember our notation. Whenever we see of, that means times, and whenever we see is, that means equals. So we could rewrite that as 3/4 of means times what number, we're just going to use a W for what number, is 69. 3/4 of what number is 69. So of means times, is means equals. Whenever you have a fraction, your variable multiplied times a fraction, you just flip and multiply. So we're going to flip it. Whoops. And change it to 4/3. And then flip it. 4/3. These all cancel. We'll turn that into a fraction, 69/1, and then we just multiply. So I can cancel right here. That would be a 1. That would be 23. 2 3s and 6, 3 3s and 9. Now I just need 23 times 4. 4 is 12. And we get 92. Alright, let's try another one like that. This one's mixed up a little bit. So this one says, what fraction of 40 is 24? This time the fraction's missing. So we have what fraction of means times, 40 is means equals 24. Alright, this is times 40, so we got to go divided by 40. Those cancel, and our fraction is 24/40. Now we can reduce that. If we just cut them in half, we would have 12/20, and then we cut those in half again, and we would have 6/10, and then we chop that in half again, and we get 3/5. Right, or we could have just said divide by 8. 3 times 8 is 24. 8 times 5 is 40. Super easy if you just remember how to set it up as an equation. Alright, 2.5 of what number? Of 240 is what number? So we're just going to set this up as an equation. So, 2 1/2 of means times 240 is what number? This one, we just multiply. They're both on the same side of the equal sign right here, right? So all we're going to do is multiply. So we need 2.5 times 240. So there's a couple of ways I could do that. I could change that to 2.5 times 240 and multiply it like that. I could change this into an improper fraction. So 2 times 2 is 4. I could say 5/2 times 240. That looks like the easiest. Right here we can cancel. So that would be 1. How many 2's are in this? Let's see, that would be 120. And then we do 120 times 5. And we get 600. Now, if you're using a calculator, this is easier. Remember that 2.5 is just 2.5. And you just type that right into your calculator. 2.5 times 240. And you're going to come up with 600. Now, if we think about this logically, 2.5 of 240 is what number? So if we had 240, there's 1. Here's another 1. And then a half. And half of 240 would be 120. And we add all those together, we would get, let's see, 600. 4 and 4 is 8, 9, 10. And 2, 4, 6. Alright, and that would be 1 and 2.5. Alright, those are pretty easy, not too hard. Just kind of know how to set it up. Alright, next part is about functions. And a function is an expression that has exactly one value for any x value. Right, so that means that if we put a number in, another number pops out, basically, right? If we said x plus 2, that would be an expression. No matter what we put in for x, right? If we put in 3, we have 3 plus 2, we would get 5. If we put in a 7, we would get 9, right? So we always get a unique answer. We can't put in a 3 and get two different numbers, right? So if I had x plus 2 and I put in a 3, I'm going to get 5. I can't put in a 3 another time and get some other number. Right? Doesn't work like that. So that's what makes it a function. It's just like any equations that we've done. This one says evaluate x times x squared minus 3x if x equals 2. So we know that what we're supposed to do here is we're supposed to replace all of our x's with 2, right? So I need a 2 there, and a 2 there, and a 2 there. I usually do my parentheses first. I'm going to say 2 squared minus 3 times 2, right? And all that's going to get multiplied times 2 again. But it's easier if we just work the part in parentheses first. So let's see, 3 times 2 would be 6. So I'd have 2 squared minus 6. And then 2 squared is 4 minus 6, which would be negative 2. So all this inside of here is negative 2. And then we've got 2 times negative 2, which would be negative 4. So if we replace the x with negative 4, with 2 in this equation, our answer will be negative 4. Alright, and we've done ones like that before. Now when it's in function notation, it's just written differently. This looks confusing at first, but it's really not. It's exactly like we've been doing. So if f of x equals x squared, that's the exact same equation from the last problem. Find f of 2. So we just have to look at this x, right? And then that represents all these x in the equation part. And this 2, see whatever f of x, f of 2, that means that 2 is going to replace all those x's, right? So if we have f of x equals times x squared minus 3x, and we need to find f of 2, so we can write it down here, f of 2 equals, and every time we see an x, we're just going to replace it with 2. So 2 times 2 squared minus 3 times 2, right? 3 times 2 would be 6, 2 squared would be 4, 6 minus 4 is negative 2 equals negative 4. Super easy, just like we've been doing. It's just the notation is different, right? So f of x. Evaluate x squared. So this one's just like the last one. What we're going to do, x equals negative 2, so we're going to have to put a negative 2 there and there. So it will be negative 2 squared times 2 times negative 2 minus 1. 2 times negative 2 will be negative 4. Negative 4 and negative 1 will be negative 5. 2 times 2 is 4. So it will be negative 4 times negative 5, which would equal, 4 times 5 is 20. Wait, that's positive because that would be negative 2 times negative 2. Yep. Now it'll be negative 20. Okay, let's try that same equation with function notation. So this one says g of x equals, and then we've got our expression. So there's our x's. Find g of negative 2. That means just wherever the x is, we're going to put negative 2. So g of x equals x squared times 2x minus 1. So we're going to say g of negative 2 equals negative 2 squared times 2 times negative 2 minus 1. Alright, negative 2 squared would be negative 2 times negative 2, which would be positive 4. And then 2 times negative 2 would be negative 2, negative 4 minus 1, that would be negative 5. 20. It's the exact same equation we used before, just function notation instead. Alright, pause the video and work the practice problems, and then I'll come back and work them for you. Alright, A says 3/4 of what number is 64? So we're going to write that out. 3/4 of means times what number, choose a W, is 64. Okay, so when we've got a fraction or multiplying by a fraction, we just flip and multiply. So 4 over 3 times 4 over 3. These cancel out. We get W equals, now we just need to multiply right here. Put that over a 1. Let's see, 64 and 3. Will those cancel? 1, no, 2, nope, that won't cancel. Erase that. Alright, so that means we're going to have to multiply across the top and then divide by the bottom. So 64 times 4, 4 times 4 is 16, 6 times 4 is 24, 25, 256. So that would be 256 over 3. So now I need to divide by 3. Oh, I did that upside down. Ha ha ha. Oops, I meant to erase. Clear all this off. I wrote my problem backwards. What happened? So you got to be real careful. Okay, so the question was actually 4/3 of what number is 64. Now when I flip this, it's going to be 4 over 3. No, other way, 3/4. Now, 64 divided by 4 will be 16. So if I cancel here, I've got 16, and then I just need to do 16 times 3. And I get 48. And that's the answer to A, is 48. Another way to think about that, right, if we have 64, so this whole thing is 64, and we divide it into 4 pieces. Okay, so 64 divided by 4 will be 16. So each of these represents 16. And then we're counting 3 of them. Right, so we'd say 16 times 3. And that's 48. So that would be 3/4. Alright, the next one, B, says 3 1/5 of what number of means times, W's for what number, is 48. 3 1/5 of what number is 48? Okay, so that means that I'm going to have to convert that into an improper fraction. So 3 times 5 is 15. 16 over 5, W equals 48. And then I'm going to flip and multiply. put that over 1. I bet 16 goes into 48. I'm going to say 3 times. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, 4. Yep, 3 times. So these would cancel, and that would be 3. And then we just multiply across after you cancel. So 3 times 5 is 15. And the answer to that one's 15. All right, C says, what fraction of 60 is 48? So I'm going to say, what fraction of 60 is 48? So my of means times, and my equals is. Okay, so that's W times 60, so I'm going to do divided by 60. Right? And so now all I have to do is reduce this. So I've got 48 over 60. If I cut that in half, I'd have 24 over 30. And I cut that in half, I'm going to have 12 over 15. And then I can divide by 3. 3 times 4 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15. And my answer is 4/5. Or I could just have divided by 12 to begin with. Okay, D. 4 1/2 of 220, so that means times 220, is what number? All right, my two numbers are on the same side of the equal sign, so that means I just multiply them. So if I was using a calculator, I could do 220 times 4.5. Right? 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 2 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10, 11. 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8. And I get 990. Or you could do it the fraction way if you just do it on paper. So 2 times 4 is 8, 9. We would have 9 over 2 times 220 over 1. These could cancel. I'd have 110. 9 times 1100. That's pretty easy. 990. That was actually easier than the other way. All right, but either way, the answer's the same. Okay. And then E, this says if f of x equals x squared minus 3, find f of negative 1. I'm going to write that down here. So I've got f of negative 1. So everywhere where I've got an f, an x, I have to put negative 1. So negative 1 squared minus 3. So negative 1 times negative 1 would be positive 1. 1 minus 3, that means I have $1. I want to spend $3. I have to borrow 2. So negative 2. Negative 2 is the answer to E. And then F says g of x equals x times x squared minus 3. And we're supposed to find g of 2. So that would be 2 times 2 squared minus 3. 2 squared would be 4. 4 minus 3 is 1. 2 times 1 equals 2. So the answer to that one's 2. All right, that is it for lesson 28. Thanks for watching.